The Diddy trial jurors were read the law by the judge, and now they're deliberating the verdict. And this part might seem boring, but it's actually a big deal because the government puts together their case based on the letter of the law. So before the jury starts deliberating on Diddy's verdict, the judge goes over each one of the laws and says, this is what you have to convict on. The judge said, you have now heard all of the evidence in this case, as well as the final arguments of the parties. I will instruct you on the law as I give it to you. The evidence is the testimony, the answers, and the exhibits. Arguments are not evidence. You are the sole and exclusive arbiter of the facts. What is reasonable doubt? It's based on your common sense after carefully weighing all the evidence. You weigh each of the witnesses' credibility, the truth, and the importance of their testimony. Size him and her up. You must decide. Sean Combs has been formally charged in an indictment. An indictment is not evidence. Count 1 charges from 2004 to 2024 are the racketeering enterprise. Count 2 is from 2009 to 2018, the trafficking of Cassie Ventura. Count 3 from 2009 to 2018, the transportation of individuals, including but not limited to Cassie Ventura for the purposes of prosta. Count 4 is from 2019 to 2024, trafficking of Jane, and Count 5 is from 2019 to 2024, the transportation of individuals, including but not limited to Jane, for the purposes of prosta. For attempt crimes that fall under the multiple acts under the RICO, the U.S. must show intent and a substantial step taken. Mere intention does not amount to attempt. Aiding and abetting means knowingly doing some act to aid or encourage a crime to be committed. For RICO, the U.S. must prove from 2004 to 2024 there was an agreement between two or more individuals for a racketeer enterprise that impacted interstate commerce, that the defendant joined and committed at least 2 predicate acts. The U.S. must prove a mutual understanding to cooperate. You may infer it as existence from the circumstances of this case. Actions may speak louder than words. You may consider the acts of all of those you find to be participants. If you find that the Combs enterprise existed, you must find whether it continued in a substantial similar form from 2004 to 2024. The people can change. As to the defendant being a member, he had to know of the existence of the enterprise. The U.S. alleges 8 predicate acts: kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, trafficking, and transportation for prosta, and intent to distribute narcotics. The U.S. has to prove that 2 offenses happened within a time frame of 10 years. Kidnapping does not occur if the victim consented. Consent may be withdrawn. Arson under California law means the conspirator set fire or caused the fire, willfully or maliciously. Bribery of a witness under California law requires that the conspirator gave or promised to give a bribe to a person or about to give information to law enforcement to unlawfully influence it. For witness tampering, in violation of 18 Section 1512B, it does not matter if the subject of the threat is in fact fearful. Only a threat is required, but it must be knowing. For forced labor, Section 1589A requires the use of force or the use of force of physical restraint. A person may withdraw consent and it may become forced labor. Trafficking will have the same definition as in counts 2 and 4. And the transportation to engage in prosta, the same as count 3 and 5. Next is distribution of narcotics, including this long word that you see here: knowingly and intentionally. Distribute means actual transfer, to deliver to another person. For possession, physical custody is not needed. Control is enough. RICO has a 5-year statute of limitation. You must find that it continued past 2019. If you find that the government had not proved this beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant not guilty. On trafficking, counts 2 and 4. Transport means to take or convey from one place to another. Reckless disregard satisfies the statute. The deliberate closing of the eyes. You must be unanimous on at least one specific instance of trafficking. On counts 3 and 5, knowingly transporting or arranging for the transportation of an individual for the purpose of an act of prosta. Buying or arranging a ticket is enough. Prosta does not need to be the main purpose. Prosta is engaging in any physical activity for money or its equivalent. You must be unanimous on at least one specific act of transportation with the intent to engage in prosta. On venue, the U.S. must prove at least one act occurred in the Southern District of New York's 8 counties or in the home stretch. In weighing expert testimony, you should not accept it just because I allowed it. The testimony of government officials are not worth more or less than the weight of other witnesses. Witnesses given immunity should be examined greater than ordinary witnesses. Charts and summaries are not evidence and will not be available to you in the jury room. Certain witnesses were permitted to be identified by pseudonyms. That should not bear weight on your evaluation of credibility. The defendant had no responsibility to testify, and he did not. You must not attach any significance to that. Voluntary intoxication may negate the intent requirement of the RICO predicates. For uncalled witnesses, you have heard names of people not called as witnesses. Each side had an equal opportunity to call them. Do not speculate or consider this. Any notes that you took are only for you. No outside reading. You are only to consider what was presented within the 4 walls of this courtroom. You may not communicate about this case, including on X, Instagram, or YouTube. If you see this, tell my deputy. Do not be swayed by bias, including implicit bias. These hidden thoughts can impact what we hear and see and how we remember it. We'll now retire to consider the case. Each of you must decide the case for him or herself after deliberating. That's it. The jury is out and they are deliberating on Diddy's verdict. Now, I'm still getting a lot of questions. We do not know when the jury will return this verdict. Like I've said in the past, it could take hours, it could take days, and it could even take weeks. But best believe I will be watching every second of every minute to see when they return with this verdict. An important thing to do during this time is watch for certain things that the jurors might come back in and ask the judge that they have questions about. But for now, y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.